Madam Chair, I started the recording.
Okay, very good. It's 7 o'clock. I think we'll get started right now. I want to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. It's Monday, April 26th for the town council meeting. But before we start the town council meeting, we have two public hearings. And I would like to begin. Mr. Manager, do you think we should do the Board of Finance first, or would you prefer?
Actually, I suggest we follow the agenda and we'll do the modification of the volunteer tax abatement, which will be led by the town attorney.
That sounds great. So let's open up the volunteer tax abatement public hearing, and I'm going to hand it to Jeremy. Attorney Taylor, could you start us out, please, Jeremy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For our first public hearing, we have the modification of the volunteer tax abatement that I spoke about at our last town council meeting. A notice of public hearing by the town council, Town of Southington, April 26, 2021, was posted on the 15th of April, 2021. And it says, notice is hereby given that the town council of the Town of Southington will hold a public hearing on Monday, April 26, 2021, at 7 p.m. on the following new item. The ordinance revising current town ordinance 375-7, volunteer tax abatement as follows. Section A, changing not more than $1,500 to not more than $2,000. Section D, changing by either $750 or $1,500 to by either $1,000 or $2,000. And changing grand list of October 1st, 2020, due in July of 2021, and January of 2022 to grand list of October 1st, 2021, due in July of 2022 and January of 2023.
Very good, thank you. Let's just start out by any council people that might have some questions, final questions for Jeremy. Then we'll open up to the public if that's all right with everyone. Does anyone have any questions for our town's attorney? Okay, hearing none, I think we heard about it last meeting. So very good. So let's open it up for comment, public comment. I would ask that if you are in favor of this issue on the public hearing, would you just identify yourself if you're on the computer? I also see we do have some call-in people. So let's first go with the people on the computers. And if you would like to speak on this matter, please do so. Let Paul know that you are there, and feel free to identify yourself, and you have some time. Anybody?
Yes. Miss
Okay.
Chairwoman.
Yes, John.
Triano,
Yes.
John Moise, how are you? I don't
Yeah,
know if
go
the
ahead.
chief is on because I can't see the participants, but I defer to
bel-
him first if he was on.
Okay, let me see. I think I saw the chief is on, I believe. Is that right? Yes, Jim Paul is on.
I really
Chief Paul,
defer to him. Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moise. Chief Paul, would you like to begin the discussion, please?
Yes, I would, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. And thanks to the entire town council. If you're supporting this, this is just such a great way to continue to support our volunteer firefighters. This is, I'm not going to say it's not going to cost much more. There's always a cost to everything. However, for not only recruitment and retention for all that they do and give to the town, this is just another example of how we can support them. I fully support this 100%. And I'm encouraging all to do so. I was a volunteer a long time ago in another town. I wish I had this opportunity, but it's something that, it's great for the town. It's great for the volunteers who are dedicated to the town and put so much forth, effort into serving our citizens and those who pass through it. So I just want to say that, I'm 100% in favor of this, and hopefully this passes.
Thank you so much, Chief. I also want to give opportunity to Assistant Chief Heath. He is also on if he has anything to say. And then, of course, the commission. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. And the chairman of the commission is also on. So Assistant Chief Heath, would you like to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Part of my video, it's a little blurred, and I couldn't agree with more of what Chief Paul said. In terms of recruitment and retention, this is a valid and most worthy endeavor. Again, the cost will be there, but I think it'll be minimal to the what we will recruit in the long term.
Okay, very good. Chairman Wilson, would you like to add? I know Nate is on.
Madam Chair, this is Mark. As you saw at your last meeting, the board voted unanimously to send this to the council. So obviously Chairman Wilson, as well as the entire fire commission, has voted in favor of this.
Yeah, I did want to give Chairman Wilson just an opportunity. I didn't want to slight him at all. So, Nate, are you on? Okay. We'll just, if there's anybody else from the commission that wants to speak, I want to give you the opportunity. If not, we'll go into public comments right now. Anybody else who wants to
yes.
speak? Go ahead.
Yes, Triano. It's John Moise. Do you need my address and all that, or
Please do.
238 Stonegate Road,
Sure.
Southington, Connecticut, and a
Great.
fire commissioner and chairman of the Recruitment and Retention Committee. And I just want to thank the council for taking this up at the second phase of what we started in 2019 after the law was passed in 2018 to increase the tax abatement. It's one of the things that we look to do, not just for retention, but recruitment, but retention as well. And I do appreciate all of your time on this and the questions that have been asked. And I'm hoping that it passes tonight. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Anyone else from the public? Would they like to speak tonight? Anybody in favor? Paul, I don't see anyone on the computer.
Yeah, Madam Chair, anybody on the computer can take their phones off of mute, and if you would like to go to the phones, they have to press *6 to
Thank you.
unmute themselves.
So the floor is open. Okay, I'm not hearing. Do you see anybody, Paul? I'm not hearing anybody.
I don't see anybody in the chat. There's 2 call-in users. If you'd like me to just unmute them just to make sure, I can do that.
Yes, please do. Any call-in folks would like to speak in favor? Okay, hearing none any further. I'm sorry, I was just reading a little note from Chairman Wilson. He just put something in the chat. How about anyone speaking against this? So anybody on the computer or on the phone, if you would like to speak against this situation or this proposal, please do so now. I don't see anybody. Mr. Czaplinski, do you?
I don't see anybody.
I don't see anybody either. All right, last call. Hearing no further comments, I'm going to close this public hearing.
Vicky, can I just?
Of
I wanna
course,
speak
Chris.
against, but I apologize because I wasn't at the last meeting, so I just want to voice my support for this.
Oh, very good, Chris. Thank you. Yeah.
If that's okay, just because I wasn't here at the last meeting. So,
of course.
the other thing, I just want to stress what an asset the volunteers are to support our career firefighters, and as always, just to remind maybe business owners in town and encourage them. Certainly, it's up to each individual business owner, but encourage them to follow the lead of the town in allowing volunteer firefighters, if should a call come in during the day, to leave their job to go to a call to assist residents in need in our community. So just like to remind everyone of the lead the town is setting for that, and again, ask that businesses in town consider following that lead.
Thank you very much, Chris. You speak for all of us, I think, on the council. We appreciate them so much. Any other comments before we close off this hearing? Hearing none, I'm going to close this portion of the hearing. It will be addressed later on under old business. And closing this part, I'm going to open now the Board of Finance proposed budget for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. I see we have our esteemed members of the Board of Finance here. And Mark, I see your hand.
Yep.
Mark, would you open it up for us,
Yeah, so
please?
what I normally do, Madam Chair, as I'm sure you know, is I just give a brief outline of where we currently are for the public. The town manager submits his budget. The superintendent submits his budget to the Board of Education, and the Board of Education submits their budget to the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance does workshops, public hearings, and then does a proposed Board of Finance budget to the town council, for which your public hearing is on tonight. The council then takes all the input, does all the research, and then 2 weeks from tonight will be your vote on the budget. And how we normally begin, of course, is with the chairman of the Board of Finance, John Leary, to do his presentation.
Thank you so much. Mr. Leary, would you please come on and do your presentation for all of us, please? I know
Sure.
it's
Saw him
I think
earlier.
I'm muted on my phone.
Yeah.
John, just press *5. I'm sorry, *6.
John, press *6.
Okay. So you see me on the video, but I'm speaking through the phone.
Okay.
Could everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because it was
Oh.
very choppy connection I have. Not at my normal location. Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, Chairperson Triano, members of the Southington Town Council, and everybody in attendance. You have before you the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget as recommended by the Board of Finance. This budget asks the Town Council for authorization to spend $158.6 million, and that number is broken down with $102.1 million to the Board of Education and $56.5 million to general government. Please note, general government also includes the debt service encompassing education and general government bonded expenditures. In addition, the budget is seeking $5.8 million for the sewer fund budget, $262,000 for animal control, and $23.6 million for the year one, the first year of the 5-year capital improvement plan that you'll find in the back of the budget book. The resulting impact on the mill rate and the taxpayers is an increase of 0.43 mills, and that's expressed as a 1.5% increase. So on average, taxpayers could expect a 1.5% increase in taxes from this recommendation. A home with a market value of $100,000 will pay $30 more in tax. $200,000 market value home will pay $60 more in tax, and a $400,000 market value home will pay $120 more in tax. So it is $30 per 100,000 of appraised value, not assessed value, the market value, $30 per 100,000. On behalf of the taxpayers, just want to make sure everyone can hear. I'll pause for just a second if somebody can tell me they could hear.
Yes, we can hear you, John.
Okay. Okay. On behalf of the taxpayers, we completed our work and we present to you this budget. It's comprised of the federal and state mandates, the contractual obligations for salary, wages and benefits, and required basic services. It also includes enhanced services, special services that our citizens and the town council expressed an interest in preserving and funding. Our process included working with the town manager, the Board of Ed, throughout the year to fully understand the needs. We insisted that an honest, transparent, responsible budgets be provided along with a long-range capital plan, including detail and business justification and a return on investment. That was the case, and we were presented very responsible budgets from general government and Board of Education. So we thank everyone. Individual member review of the budget, we each reviewed it. We invited several town departments to come and present, including the Board of Education, to present highlights of their budget and the work they provide to the Board of Finance during review sessions. And these are all available to everybody to watch and stream. We hosted a public hearing where members of the community were able to comment on the budget. And then we held a Board of Finance public workshops on the budget. And during those workshops, the Board of Finance reviewed and discussed components of the budget with input and dialogue from the town manager, the Board of Education members, and the superintendent of schools. And this collaboration proved to be very valuable. The challenge before us is to continually ensure taxpayer money is spent in a manner which yields most effectiveness and efficiency. As we reviewed the budget, our objective was to recommend an appropriate budget. We set out to take a long-term approach, review priorities, and for each item, we had to determine whether spending as proposed, a reduction, or an elimination was in the best interest of the taxpayers. Risk factors in preparing this recommendation include the COVID-19 pandemic and its effect on our community and on the federal and state aid to Southington. After our work concluded, the Board of Finance voted on this budget recommendation, and for the capital improvement plan, animal control, and sewer fund, the vote was 6 in favor, 0 opposed. For the Board of Education operations and general government, the vote was 5 in favor and 1 opposed. The dissenting vote favored more funding for the Board of Education and general government. What you have before you is a bipartisan recommendation. On our board by charter it's a bipartisan board, and there are 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats currently serving on our board. Even though this budget recommendation to you is complete, the Board of Finance remains committed to working to drive effectiveness and efficiency in town operations on behalf of the taxpayer. Some noteworthy items. If you go through this budget, you'd come upon these. Grand list growth. This year, we experienced an increase in our assets on the grand list of about $50 million. At the current mill rate of 30.69, that growth will generate $1.5 million of new tax revenue. So that means that more new property was added to our grand list. This is new stuff, a new car, an addition on a home, something that was not there before. Generated an increase in the grand list, and when we tax that new stuff, we garner $1.5 million of new taxes. So that's a volume increase to the grand list, which we're very thankful for everybody who worked hard to engineer and do their best to make that happen. Our grand list also went through revaluation, and it stands at $4.387 billion of assets. The revaluation is marking everything to market. So it's looking at the properties again, looking at the market, and revaluing the property on the grand list. With revaluation, it caused the grand list to grow. The assets in Southington became worth more, the grand list went up, so the mill rate was adjusted down. Why does that happen? Well, the objective of revaluation is not to garner more taxes from people. If every property in town doubled in value, we would still collect the exact same tax. So we adjust the mill rate so that the new grand list with its higher value will still generate the same tax dollars as the old grand list did with the lower mill rate. So the mill rate got adjusted down to 29.03 to reflect the same tax revenue. And the purpose of the grand list is just to levy taxes fairly across all the owners of the property. Now, we can talk about this at length, but if anybody has a question, we'll come back to it. But basically, revaluation marks all the properties to market. Some properties go up, some properties went down. Overall, the entire grand list rose, the mill rate dropped, and the same amount of taxes are garnered from it. Then along comes the budget, where we propose that 1.5% increase to the mill rate. So does that mean every homeowner, every piece of property is going to pay exactly 1.5% more, or $30 per 100,000? Not exactly. It depends on how your property was affected by revaluation. And we're going to stop there because that's a whole concept unto itself. The sources of revenue. we have a budget proposed of 158.6 million in spending. It's also 158.6 million in revenue. It's a balanced budget. General property tax brings in 130.7 million. State grants to the Board of Ed mostly and to the town are 22.5 million. And billing out town services and interest income on our investments bring us $5.4 million. And then we're using some excess fund balance, some rainy day fund excess of 1.8 million in our budget towards capital. We can talk about that. The use of contingency. Contingency is an unknown item. It's an unassigned expense item in the budget. It's essentially a budget for an item unknown at the time of budgeting. Typically, we budget 850,000 in contingency. This year, we have 1.1 million in contingency, but it started with 850. We reduced the budget by 100,000, so that makes the contingency 750. And then there was 317,000 additionally tucked away on the contingency line related to open contracts that haven't been settled yet. Once they are settled, that money will be apportioned back to salaries and wages where it needs to go. So we sit with a contingency right now for our, in net of $750,000. Some notable items either in or impacting our budget. The Board of Ed is receiving 1.8 million of ESSER grants, secondary education grants, and they also are receiving 4.1 million from the American Recovery Act grant related to COVID. These are both COVID related. One half of that will come in the 21-22 year. The other half will come in the following year. At the same time, the general government will be receiving 4.3 million from the American Recovery Grant, and we are going to apply it to sewer pump station renovations over the next 2 years. So we're basically applying ours to capital. This is not money that we requested. It's not money that we need to reimburse ourselves for. This just came to us, is a simple way to put it. It came to us the same way the $1,400 went to a lot of taxpayers. It was part of the same bill, the same act, and the town was the recipient of it from the federal government. So there are some stipulations on it, and we will be applying ours to capital. So it will, over time, reduce taxes in town because we're going to use federal government money to repair our sewer pump stations and not local taxed money, if you look at it that way. A couple other noteworthy items. We've reduced 2 administrative positions and 1 clerical position. We are changing a community services aide position at Community Services Department from part-time to full-time. We are adding a corporate counsel in-house and of course decreasing the outsourcing of legal. But when you net it all out, it's a $40,000 increase to our expenses. We are adding 2 public works laborers offset by reduced contractors at all of the buildings that are maintained by third parties. We're bringing that in-house, and that one offsets the other. And then there's a plan to add 3 firefighters pending the approval of a federal SAFER grant. That's a grant that provides for the training and the compensation of the officers for a particular period of time for the firefighters, and at which point then the town would then take over. So if we need them, we get them. The government pays to get them trained and in the seat, and then when that grant runs out, we retain them going forward. Couple last points. We believe this is a balanced budget. We consider this budget a balanced budget for the 10th year in a row. Prior to 11-12, the unassigned fund balance was used to balance the budget until we implemented a plan to reduce and eventually eliminate the use of the fund balance. In October 2013, the policy floor was raised from 9% to a more conservative 10% of operating revenues. So we maintain 10% of our revenues in reserve, which we call the rainy day fund. So we are supposed to maintain approximately $17 million in the rainy day fund, representing 10% of revenues. At June 30th, the undesignated general fund balance that we call the rainy day fund was 23.9 million, far in advance of the target. The use of the 1.8 million in this 21-22 budget would leave 22.1 million, or approximately $5 million additional excess in the rainy day fund above the floor that our policy, our own self-written policy, calls for us to maintain. Without any other changes, the rainy day fund will sit at 13.1%. And again, our policy calls for us to keep it at 10%. But our fiscal policy also stipulates that excess can only be used for capital projects or debt reduction. So the excess, meaning the amount we have in there greater than 10%, we could use for capital or to reduce debt. And the actual rainy day fund, up to the 10%, the rest of the fund itself is to be used for emergencies and one-time opportunities. To do otherwise would put us in jeopardy with our bond ratings, because that's one of the things that's watched. I'm going to just stop there and see if anybody has any questions on the budget, on our work, and if not, we'll end there. I'll take any questions anybody has now.
Let's start with the council. Does anyone on the council have a question for John? I want to make sure. Oh, yes, Val, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John, thanks for,
Val, sure.
you can hear me? John, thanks so much
Yeah.
for your summary. I guess just quickly to go back to the rainy day fund. So currently we're 5 million, about 5 million, you said, in excess of the floor.
Yeah, Amelia could go sharper on it because we got to make sure everything settles. But just to let you know, at June 30th, 2020, we had 23.9 million in there. And then we're going to use 1.797 or 1.8 million this year. And when we look at it, we'll have, according to my calculation, about 5 million above the 10% floor in there. And then we go back to the requirements. We could use it to A, pay down debt, or B, use it for capital projects. Yes.
Has there been discussion of, yes, that answers my question. I guess, is there discussion then as to what capital projects that would be used towards, or that's down the road?
Well, when the budget was put together, the town manager put in put in the use of 1.8 million of that towards capital projects. In the back section of the book, I didn't do it this year. Last year, I broke them all out. In the back section of the book, beginning around page 185, all the capital projects are there, and it tells about how they're funded. They're either cash funded with the rainy day fund, they're carried forward from the current year, or we bond for them. And sometimes we do a combination. So they're all listed back there, and you can see where the 1.8 million is being used. But we do always try and return that money. That is taxpayer money, and it's an interesting point, Val, that's taxpayer money, and we do, it's a timing issue. So we take it, we don't send a check back to the taxpayer. What we end up doing is using it for capital in the following year. But we got to be sensitive of that, because it's a lot of money we hold that really belongs in bottom line belongs to the taxpayer.
Okay, great. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any member of the council at all?
It's just a lot.
Okay, so let's move to the public, please. We're going to open up the computers first. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter. And I'd like to hear the ones pro first, but if you jump in and you're not pro, that's okay too. Let's just open up. Let's get some public comment. Okay. And if you're, go ahead. If you're on the computer, we're waiting to hear you.
Hi, this is Sue Zabahansky, 28 Working Street. Can we ask John some questions, or are we allowed to?
Yes, I think you
Through the
can.
chair.
Yep.
Questions go through the chair.
Yes, sure. Through the chair, I'd like to know, so the town of Southington is getting federal money both for Board of Ed and for the town itself. And I understand there's certain stipulations on that money. It's a large chunk of money to my understanding. And I just wanted to clarify like the amounts of those two funds, because it's kind of concerning to me that we're raising taxes when we're getting such a substantial amount of federal money. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding the amounts of those money that's coming through. I appreciate all their work, John Leary, John Leary and everybody else on the Board of Finance, but I just wanted to clarify that amount of money.
Thank you. John, can I refer the question to you, please?
Actually, I could probably answer that.
Oh,
not
okay.
sure
Thank
right
you.
now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can only speak for the town stuff. There's stipulations on the BOE side if they can answer. I mean, we all have stipulations on it. The stipulations from the town side for the $4.3 million, which as John mentioned, will be in 2 separate fiscal years. We could use it for areas such as water infrastructure, sewer infrastructure. It can't be used for tax relief. So in our particular case, since we have a private water department. So in our particular case, speaking with the Board of Finance and members of the council, we chose that the best way to benefit taxpayers of Southington is, since we already have 4+ pump stations on our list for our capital, what we chose, instead of bonding those, which of course costs the taxpayers money, we use to get the pump stations and pay cash out of the $4.3 million. We could probably do 4 pump stations with that. Therefore, you wouldn't have to bond the $4.3 million, and the taxpayers would save approximately $270,000 a year for a 20-year period, not having to bond it. So that's part of our stipulation. It's not something that we could just simply say we're using the money, putting it as a general tax abatement for people. That's not allowed under these stipulations.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions?
But the bottom line, that money does reduce future taxes. So taxes will be less because the government gave the town of Southington $4.3 million.
And also, I
So
want to just go ahead.
So I'm sorry, through the chair. So the taxes will be less when, if we're increasing our taxes this year, when does the taxpayer see that money?
Well, I could talk about that for a second. Obviously, we're going to build the pump stations between now and the end of December. Part of the rules are you have to finish it. I believe it's by the end of December 2023, I believe, or 2024. So we're going to be building all the pump stations during that period of time. We won't be bonding. So if we did bond, because one pump station is being acted on tonight, as a matter of fact, it's the Plantsville pump station is on for tonight. We'll be building all 4 of them in a short period of time. So instead of bonding and me putting $270,000 of debt each year in my budget, that won't be there. So to answer your question, probably you won't see it in this fiscal year, but you'll probably start seeing it in next fiscal year and the year after for the next 20 years. But we're talking about $270,000. It may not be a lot of money, but it's money that's not going in the budget as opposed to going in the budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, does the Board of Ed want to address that side with Mrs. Zabahansky? Yes, Tim, go ahead, Mr. Cannellan. Tim, I think you're on mute. We can't hear you, Tim. Paul?
I'll take a look and see if I see and can take him off. I sent a request, Tim, to unmute. There you
There
go.
we go. How's that?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I know Mr. Japlinski's been trying to mute me for years, but that's okay. Only kidding. So I'm gonna speak generally, and then I'll defer to Mr. Madansky if you'd like some more specifics. So the federal dollars, when they come to the education side, really cannot be used for operating budget costs. They're supposed to be used for costs that are over and above that. Summer school, learning loss, those are all things, technology, those are all things that are beyond the current operating budget. The operating budget that we designed was based on the needs that we saw going forward. And the dollars that are coming from the federal government are essentially to meet the needs of students above and beyond that. There's a caveat there too. If we were to use as a community, those dollars to offset the budget costs, let's say we said, all right, we're going to reduce the operating budget by, $1 million this year and $1 million going forward and use those federal dollars. What happens when those federal dollars run out? You've created a fiscal cliff. You then have to fill, 2 years down the road. And in addition to that, that's actually not what we're supposed to be doing with the dollars. So if you'd like, I can ask Mr. Medancy to talk. He and Mrs. Danello have put the application together, even though we've been given not great guidance by the state or the federal government. We do have an application that we've had to complete for the initial dollars and then what's called the CARES 3, I guess is how it's been referred to. That's the $4.1 million. If you'd like additional explanation on that, Mr. Medancy is here, and I know that he is anxious to speak about that if you'd like some additional information.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, we do have other people that are going to speak, Steve. So if we could just kind of focus it a little bit, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Medanski, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief. We have submitted the first grant for the 1.8, which is the SR2 funds, and we have not gotten the guidance, or should I say guidelines, for the SR3 funds yet. As Mr. Cannellan said, it does span over several years. It's not just for this year's use. And there are priorities that are tied to the use of those funds: academic supports, learning loss, learning acceleration and recovery, family and community connections, remote learning, staff development, and digital divide, and then network and technology access. And so if you're using those funds, you have to identify your priorities, your initiatives relative to each of those priorities, submit them to the state, and it has to be approved for that use. So as Mr. Cannellan said, it cannot be used to offset operating budget costs. As we've talked about in the past, we were not aware of the $1.8 million obviously coming our way. So we had already built a budget that was meant to sustain and potentially incrementally improve programs and services that we thought we would need for the next academic year, which is what the council has received and is in front of them when the budget was developed and handed to the Board of Ed in January.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate it. Let's open it up further. Is there anyone else who has questions that they would like to ask or a statement that they would like to make? We're on the computers right now. And so anybody on a computer, please unmute yourself and identify yourself. Is there
Madam Chair,
anyone?
if I may, if there's anybody who is having a problem unmuting, they can type in the chat function that they're having a problem and we can work on that.
Sure. I don't see anybody else. Paul, do you see anyone else? Let's ask anyone on the phone to also dial *6, and that will get you in to be able to speak in the meeting. Anybody who is on the phone who wishes to speak? I don't see anybody coming forward. All right, I'm going to close down the public hearing then. I want to thank everyone, all the interested parties, the members of the Board of Ed, and Chris. Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I could just make one statement, just because.
Yeah, of course, go ahead. Sure.
I officially thank Sherry Danello and Tim Cannellan. This is their last rodeo with us, at least in this capacity. Of course, I'm sure they'll still be very active as community members, but just want to thank them both for their work on the budget over all these years.
All these years. That's right, Chris. Thank you so much. If we were in person, we would have had a cake, but just our well wishes. That's
or
all.
at least the cookies.
Oh, cookies. Right. We do wish you both the very best. And we are very grateful for all the work you've done over the years. It's been amazing. Thank you so much. All right. We are going to close down the public hearing at this point in time. And so thank you all that were here for public hearings on both of these issues. And we are going to be opening up right now our town council meeting for Monday, April 26th. It is after 7 o'clock. It's 7:40, but Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Paul Chaplinsky,
Here?
Michael Del Santo,
Present.
Valerie DiPaolo,
Here?
William Dietzick,
Here.
Tom Lombardi,
I am here.
James Morelli. I see Jim there.
Jim's here.
Here.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Christopher Palmieri,
I'm here.
Christopher Poulos,
I'm here.
Victoria Triano.
And I'm here also. Let us stand for the prayer. Madam Clerk, if you would read the prayer,
Yes.
please.
Heavenly Father, open our eyes this evening to the truth and reality of every situation that we encounter. Give us solutions that are best for our community now and in the future. Keep your hand upon Southington and continue to make her great. Amen.
Amen. Would you all please join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. You may be seated. Could I have a motion for our minutes from our last meeting, please?
So moved,
So
Madam
moved.
Chair.
Second.
Okay, Mike Del Santo seconded, Paul Chaplinsky made the motion. All those that approve indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
If there's any opposed or anyone who needs to abstain,
I'm going to abstain.
thank you, Chris.
Not a
Anybody?
vote. Abstain.
Not a vote. You're abstaining. That's right. Okay, very good. I think you have that role, Madam Clerk. Just Chris is abstaining. Everybody else is in favor. Thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about council matter communication. While we're talking about Mr. Cannell and Sherry Dinello leaving their positions, we want to congratulate Mr. Madansky and also Mr. Frank Pepe for entering in a new phase of their lives. And so we congratulate them for taking on the helm. It's going to be very difficult to fill those shoes, but I have great faith in both of you. So I want to say that. Any other council matter communication? Oh, a lot of hands up. Okay, so Chris Poulos, because you're at the top of the list. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make the community aware that on Saturday, May 8th from 10 to 1 p.m., Bread for Life will be hosting their third annual food drive. And for those who are not aware, the food drive is in memory of Mrs. Cheryl Jankura. She was a teacher at the high school for many years. And every year they also have the food drive in memory of some other special community members. This year, those community members are Art Rich, who we all know, and Mr. Matt Florian. You can make donations in memory of these two Southington legacy honorees. I posted a flyer online, but I will send this to the town clerk, the flyer, the one-page flyer, so that it's included in our minutes.
Great.
Bread for Life is a great organization, and anyone who can get out to support it. Again, May 8th, 10 to 1 p.m. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Mike Del Santo?
Madam Chair, the Southington Western Little League had a milestone this past Saturday, celebrating their
Yes.
51st anniversary. They had planned a big event last year, but since the world stopped spinning last March, they weren't able to do it. And just a note of thanks to Mr. Joe Laporte and Bill Dallavecchia and Mr. Don Stepanek, who were very integral in making Western Little League happen. So I've heard this story many, many times. I know Western Little League started down where the dog park is.
Yeah.
And it was very little before my time, but it was before my time. But I'm a veteran of Western Little League, hit a few home runs. Chaplinsky used to carry my water. So, I want to congratulate those guys for starting that, and we had a great time up there. It's funny, I was there in the early 80s, and there was one field, and they were building the second field. And I want to say, Paul, was it like maybe the end of our last year there, the second field that finally opened? Now there are like 5 fields up there. It's great. So it's just
You were having a hard time hitting a home run on the regular field, so they shortened the second one.
They did. They brought the fences in for me. So I just want to congratulate people like Joe Laporte and Bill Dellavecchia, who time and time again, throughout their whole lives, just really put Southington in front. And we are so fortunate to have men like this and people like this in our town that do great things. And, the list is very long and distinguished for both of these gentlemen. So I want to thank them for all their efforts, and congratulations to Western Little League, my alma mater.
That's great. That's terrific. Great. Anyone else? Councilmatic Communications. Yes, Tom.
Sure, thank you. Last Thursday, Councilman Palmieri and myself, we joined the town manager to present the referendum question coming up on May 4th to the Calendar House folks. It lasted about a little over a half an hour, very well taken by the Calendar House members. So thank you to the Calendar House for hosting us. And on that note, just to remind the public that May 4th, very important referendum regarding the development rights of Southington Country Club. All voting will take place at Daranowski Elementary School from 6 in the morning until 8 p.m. And it sounds like I'm getting the thumbs up there, so those are the right times. Secondly, Saturday, May 8th will be the Memorial Park Playground dedication by the Rotary Club. So we've been hearing for years how much work that the Rotary Club has been putting in, and certainly the town and the taxpayers and the children especially appreciate all that they've done. And many years to come, people will get great use out of that facility. So my suggestion for Saturday, May 8th is that we start off at 10 a.m. at the Memorial Park Rotary Playground. Then we jump in the car and head over and see Councilman Poulos at Bread for Life. And that should take up a good amount of time on Saturday, May 8th. Lastly, I did speak with the town manager last week, and I made a request that possibly in June or maybe even July, whenever the town manager sees fit, I think it's time that we get an update from our energy consultant that we pay on an annual basis to see how our energy production is going, how our tax dollars are being saved, and things of that nature. How are they helping the town overall? So hopefully we can get that on the schedule at some point in the near future after we handle the budget. And that is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Tom. I know Paul had his hand up. Paul Chaplinsky.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to piggyback on what Tom had mentioned about the referendum, we've also done presentations with Unico and Rotary, Sons of Italy. Mikey did one, and I know Chris Palmieri and the town manager have one tomorrow, I believe, right, for the chamber. And then later this week we also have one final one that we're also planning. So as far as the referendum goes, I think we're covering a lot of the bases. The last one for this week is at the Manor Inn for the Lions Club. So hopefully people have had an opportunity to get to one of these events, but certainly if there's questions still, please feel free to reach out to any one of us here on the council, and we'll be happy to help clarify any of the facts that are out there.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? We do want to encourage everybody to get out and vote. It's very important. So yeah, anybody else? I just have one, and it's the 75th year that the National Day of Prayer is being marked, and we are going to do that here in Southington again. We've been doing it for about 24 years, and it will be Thursday, May 6th, right on the green at noon. Everyone's invited, and we got the clearance from Shane today, so we're very happy about that. So everybody's invited May 6th, Thursday, May 6th at 12 noon on the green. Okay, thank you, everybody. Yes, come on. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to give everyone an update, what the value steps is to our community.
Yeah.
So it's been a while, so I just wanted to give everyone an update on what they've been up to and what they've really given back to our community. So first of all, a shout out to Hartford Healthcare. Hopefully some of you have seen on Route 10 as you're driving by the fire station. Hartford Healthcare gave us the billboard for steps to advertise, and we're trying to promote the assets that were being promoted, specifically from the student data we collected in schools last year. So that data is helping us drive our need in the community. Very pleased to report out that, and I think, Tom, you mentioned this a couple meetings ago, they completed Parent University once again this year. 8 workshops were offered to parents. So again, just a valuable asset to our community to inform parents of things that are going on they should be aware of with our youth. The entire 4th and 5th grade received vaping lessons, not only from STEPS, but in partnership with the school resource officer, Officer Chris Laporte. So they went into the entire 4th and 5th grade, including the final one will be this week for the virtual academy. So the 4th and 5th grade students that are not in person this year, but are attending school virtually. So they're included as well. And they also created a vaping discussion guide. So again, Megan Albanese, Chris Laporte working in collaboration with each other. Doing a great job.
Yeah.
And then finally, this could be great for our community. STEPS applied for a Community Partners in Prevention grant. This is with DEMIS from the state of Connecticut, Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. We're waiting to hear if we receive that grant. It's $125,000 for year 1. It'll come to our community for prevention services. So we're really hopeful and just want to give a shout out to all the work that STEPS is doing.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Yeah,
Madam Chair,
Paul?
if I may, Chris, if it's okay, my daughter's a member of STEPS, and also this weekend, STEPS supported the Rotary town cleanup for 3 hours. And during the morning time, the STEPS team was all over the town, especially in the downtown, picking up trash throughout our community. So that was also really nice of them to do.
Youth,
Very good.
Paul, are incredible. The whole youth council, absolutely incredible. And Vicky, you mentioned before big shoes to fill. We had Megan Albanese had big shoes to fill with Kelly Lepard.
With Kelly,
and
sure.
she's doing a
doing
fantastic
great.
job. So
Doing
just a
great,
shout
yeah.
out and appreciation.
It's
Thank you very
terrific.
much.
Sure. I have just a couple of things that I want to wrap up here. First of all, just in terms of the Playscape from Rotary, it is in partnership with the Community Foundation of Greater New Britain. So I wanted to at least make sure I mentioned them because they also gave a considerable amount of money to make this happen. And so we wish them all well. The other thing which is very important, no one will ever be able to replace John DeMello on our Veterans Board. We had the pleasure of having someone really truly great caring for our vets in Southington, and I wanted to mention that. However, it does leave an empty space, and just like Southington people do, we've had 2 members of the American Legion come forward and want to help. And so after speaking with Chris Palmieri, who actually was the one who initiated the Veterans Committee here in Southington, we agreed that Steve McCarty from the American Legion and Steve Pintrich will also be joining the Veterans Committee, and I'm sure that we're going to be having a meeting in the next week or so just to get office hours ready. The town manager was extremely helpful in all of this, and Attorney Riccadone is away right now. He's serving, but he was also able to join us through the wonders of IT. He was able to be in on our meeting. And so we are ready to go forward, and we are looking for others. If anyone else wishes to, who's a vet who would like to serve, there is an opening still left. And so I just want to let everybody know we look forward to continuing the legacy that John had initiated with the Veterans Committee. Thank you, Rachel and John and Joe. And so I just wanted to let everybody know. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. A lot of stuff going on, and it's good to hear all of that stuff. Let's go right into the reports of special committees. So we have the Apple Harvest Advisory Committee. Tom?
Madam Chair? Yes, Councilman Palmieri will be reporting this evening. I unfortunately had to show up a little bit late to last week's meeting, so.
Sure.
Councilman Palmieri, please.
Thank you so much, Chris.
So just to give everyone an update, we are making great progress for the festival and our return to normalcy, hopefully for the fall. So far, we have 18 vendors currently submitted applications, so that's a great sign. Arts and crafts, we have 14 vendors so far. We're opening up to seek out our high school students. Formerly, we had a program for host and hostesses. We're just renaming that just to be a little bit more modern as we move forward. So there'll be ambassadors. So we're looking for student ambassadors for this year's festival. We are also going to do something a little different for the theme. We're going to open it up to the public to look for suggestions for our theme for this year's festival. So be on the lookout for that through the Apple Harvest Facebook and social media posts for suggestions for a theme. And then finally, we have approximately $9,000 already in sponsorship revenue for this year's festival. So we're well on the way, and hopefully it's going to be a fantastic resurgence here for the festival.
A lot of people are looking forward to it, Chris. The pressure's on. It's great. Terrific. Anything else anybody else wants to add about the festival? Hearing none, let's move on to self-insurance, item B.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you.
Yes.
Councilman Poulos and myself met with the Self-Insurance Committee on Wednesday, April 21st. First, I'll start off with a brief update on the claims. For the month of March, the claims came in under budget, $34,000 approximately. So that brings us through 9 months of the fiscal year 2021 at a balance of just under $3 million. It is worth noting that the previous 8 months, so from July 2020 to February 2021, the under budget per month was very significant. In March, it did decrease to only $34,000. So it's telling us that, hey, maybe people are going to the doctors more. Maybe things are getting back to slightly normal levels of doctor visits and procedures and things like that. But overall, financially, the fiscal year 2021 self-insurance budget is very healthy, and we should come in well under budget, as we've been discussing for months. Lastly, we had a pretty lengthy presentation from Anthem about the impact that COVID-19 has had on the town of Southington employees and the Board of Ed employees. So it was just basically a statistical rundown of things going on. Nothing that is out of the ordinary, but it was very informative to the Self-Insurance Committee. And I'm not sure, Councilman Poulos, if there's anything else worth noting.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just add a little bit more detail to the update from Anthem, because I've been very curious about the impact of COVID on our self-insurance funds. Essentially, the Anthem people were in our meeting. They said we're doing well with claims. They said participants are utilizing our plan appropriately. They go to the doctor when they have to. They stay home when they don't go when they don't have to. And as Councilman Lombardi said, there's this slight increase back to normalcy that they're seeing. One thing they've noticed is there's a higher utilization for urgent care and telehealth, which is great because that costs less. I asked about a comparison between like the other towns similar to ours and, and how they were doing. And they just said that Southington has a higher percentage of people that have been vaccinated with COVID. And so I thought that was a positive. Lastly, another item on the agenda was kind of an update on our budget projection. So as you may recall, like in December, we came forward with a budget projection and we adjusted that several times due to the being significantly under budget, as Mr. Lombardi explained. And the consultant just said that, you know, we were closer to being on budget this past semester, still under by $34,000, but that kind of inched our projection up by $100,000. Now, we're pretty conservative when we make projections, and so the consultant said that this is totally manageable within where we are. I would just say that, you know, yeah, so we're manageable, even though we had that uptick. Sorry, my clock was going off. We had that uptick in the projection, because we budgeted conservatively. We're pretty much on target still.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Any other special committees that want to make a report? Okay, hearing none, let's move on. Mr. Town Manager, could you give us your report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The first thing we're going to do is talk about the Board of Finance meeting. It was a pretty short meeting. I'd like you to look at page 2, which is the revenue part of it. Southington is actually doing very well with the revenue. I know a lot of towns are struggling in the state. Southington is actually in decent shape. We are under in a couple of areas. We're under just a small amount in our taxes and some other areas. But the two departments that have been carrying us all year, and I've said this probably to you 8 or 10 times, the building department is up $320,000 over projection, and the town clerk is up $550,000 over projection. So we're approximately $375,000 to the good this late in the fiscal year. So I feel pretty confident that our budget projections are going to stay strong, and we'll be meeting our budget projections for revenue by the end of the year, which is actually fantastic considering the year that we all went through. On page 6, this was the actual transaction part of the meeting. I'm happy to say that there were all transfers and no appropriations, so therefore there was no effect on the contingency. Happy to answer any questions that you may have on that.
Anyone have a question? I see none.
Okay,
Mark,
if not,
go
I'll
ahead.
go on to the next one, which I'm not sure if Chairman Bill wanted to say anything on behalf of the Sewer Committee, but he can correct me on any mistakes I make. But the Sewer Committee has recommended to the council that we move forward with the Plantsville Pump Station. That was approved in last year's fiscal budget, but obviously that's in the CIP plan from last year. Funding is always the last thing that we do for this. So as I talked about before, we anticipated bonding this with the money we'll see from the feds. We're asking the council to fund it through that. So we have two things here. Amelia will be discussing how we're going to fund it. And if you have any questions, I saw Jim Grappone is on here if I can't answer any of your questions.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
But what we're recommending to you is that we did go out to bid, obviously. The low bid, we're asking you not to take by the recommendation of not only our engineers, our third-party engineers, but also our town attorney have reviewed it and recommended that we go with COVID Construction Company for the sum of $792,517, and also Ty and Bond, who will be doing the project design and also doing the on-site inspections for the sum of $117,000. I do have Jim Grappone here, and obviously the chair of the Sewer Committee is here if you have any questions on that.
Anyone have any questions on that?
And I'd like Amelia just to touch base on how we're going to fund this. Amelia, if you would, please.
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Go ahead, Tom.
Town Manager, I think it's just worthwhile to explain why the low bidder was not awarded. I mean, it's in our package, but I think, can you just briefly explain why?
I don't normally like to do a lot of that, but I'll touch base with the town attorney has reviewed it, and we felt that the company, although they're a valid company, we don't feel that they're the company of the size or character that we would pick for a project at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. Amelia?
Yes. Amelia.
Sure. Sorry about my voice today, but basically the intent is we're going to do a project authorization for this project pending the grant that we're going to be receiving. So we anticipate that we're going to be getting the first half of our ARP money in June. So I'd like to get this on the books probably May, June at the latest meeting.
Okay.
So what we're doing.
Before,
Yeah, what we're doing tonight is we're authorizing the contractual sign to eventually have me sign the contract for it. But we're working through the Board of Finance at their May meeting to do the authorization for the line item. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody. Trooper, I didn't realize your laryngitis was that bad, or else I would have handled that. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, very
Jim
good.
Capone, do you have anything to add? And Bill, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay.
I
Jim?
do not either, Mark.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there's no other further questions, the next item I have, some of you may remember many years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, the council chose to move forward with a community block grant. What does that mean? That means that the state of Connecticut gets block grants from the federal government for specific purposes. This one was to have people who qualify, who own residence in the town of Southington, who may be in a situation where they can't afford to do roofs, they can't afford to repair their roofs, they can't afford to do their HVAC systems or their whatever plumbing systems. They could apply for and receive a low interest or no interest loan. We've done this. We have several of these on the books. That being said, every couple of years I have to sign a whole bunch of documents. One of which that I cannot sign because it's got to be a resolution from the council, and that is the fair housing resolution that you currently have in front of you. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on that.
Madam Chair.
Val?
Yes, Mark, I just have a question on the language in the resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So I had pulled up the Connecticut General Statute, and there's a few of the protected classes that are missing on the Connecticut laws. So can we add those so that it conforms with the Connecticut General Statute?
I get these boilerplate, Val. So what I can do is if you want to do that, just with the stipulation that it's approved by the whatever you make a motion for, just put in there that it has to be approved by the person that's asking for this, which is Lisa Lowe. She's the one who sent me the boilerplate. I just want to make sure that she's not here tonight, but I don't want to add anything that she would object to. But if if it's supposed to be in there, I don't know. Like I said, I get the boilerplate right from her.
Right, and that's, I would think that, I would hope that, it's the Connecticut law. So I would rather we're signing, our town is approving a resolution that has the current Connecticut law.
Now, I'm fine if you want to make a motion saying that the resolution has to abide by current Connecticut law, and I'll make sure she puts that in there.
Okay, or do you want me to let you know what needs to be added? And then it could just be added. You can ask her.
I think if I can just intervene, if there's a problem, I would rather have it actually written the way we're going to approve it. So maybe we could table this to our next meeting. Mark, is there a time?
I could tell her that there was some question on the wording. And Val, if you just want to send me what your recommendation is, I can give it to her and she can send me a whole new boilerplate. I'm fine with that.
I think that would be good for the council as well. So we know exactly what we're approving. So if that's okay, Val, is that all right with you?
That's fine with me. Yes.
Okay,
And I
great.
just, Mark, a second question too. The fair housing policy, do we have that? That we're the town of Southington hereby endorses a fair housing policy. Is that something that we've done in the past?
Yeah,
Like,
that's also in the packet she sends every year. That's I sign that. That's not the council signature. That's mine. I have to also sign it. Has to obey Connecticut statutes and federal statutes. That goes through my office and Janet, who's our fair housing officer.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But just
Madam Chair, can I ask a question before you move on?
Okay.
Yes, of course, Bill.
Mark, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry, I'll go
No,
right
go ahead.
after
I'm
that.
sorry.
No, so I mean, the way I guess I was thinking the same way as Val when I read this, but then I took a step back, and so really this is, the carrot of the federal government to get, their program and their monies, correct?
Yeah, this is so I'm required to do this to be a pass through for the people of Southington. So yeah.
Right. So, but the U.S. Constitution and U.S. law is actually less restrictive than Connecticut law and the Connecticut Constitution. So this is just basically saying, you're not gonna go lower than, the U.S. Constitution or U.S. law. So I mean, I have no problem with it being passed and added, but understanding why we're signing it and what we're doing, we can't contract around or make a resolution around Connecticut law. So those protections and rights already exist at the state level. We're a creature of state statute. So I understand what Val's saying, and I have no issue with it if she wants to see it in writing, but I think that is why those are omitted from this document, is because really this is HUD, and HUD saying, you know, you have to do this, but Connecticut's well above what HUD requires.
I don't think 2 weeks is going to matter one way or the other. So I'd be happy to go back to Lisa Lowe, who sent me all these. She's the coordinator of it. And then Val, if you want to send me what else should go in there, or just the update the statute, but whatever the words are, I'll be happy to send it to her, and then we'll have a whole new, no whole 2 weeks from now. No big deal.
And then I think the
Right,
discussion.
If I can, I understand where Bill's coming from. The reason I'm focusing on the Connecticut statute is because we're in the resolution, it's referencing it. I understand this is for federal funds, and I understand that Connecticut goes further than the federal guidelines do as far as protected statuses. But for Connecticut, the current law, if it's going to be cited, it's being written in a resolution. It should have the same protected classes. So it's simply adding gender identity or expression and veteran status.
My only concern is that I have to abide by this program. So I will certainly do all that, Val. I'll be happy to do it, but I got to eventually give you what I'm required to do under this program. So I'm sure there won't be a problem with them, but I certainly can't. Go ahead.
All right, I'll email that to you, Mark.
All right.
Okay.
Then when we get to that point in the agenda, Madam Chair, I'll be looking for a table on that. And I'm sorry, Tom.
Madam Chair, I have one more question for the town manager.
Sure, Tom, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I know we're spending a lot of time on this issue, but we've done this in the past, and I think it's a great thing for us to publicize a little bit. But since we're looking at a possible table on this evening, can we just get like a little bit of statistics from Lisa or yourself, and to see how many residents of Southington have utilized this program?
You want me to invite her, Mr. Vice Chair? I can invite her on your behalf.
I mean, I don't think the details have to be that extensive, but it would be good to see if people are actually utilizing it, because if they're not utilizing it, maybe it's a matter of not enough publicity. So I think it's good to get this out in the public and say, hey, this is a program available to Southington residents, and let's make sure those who are eligible do have the proper, phone numbers, websites, or what have you to take advantage of this program. So whether you think she should come, or if it's something that you could just report on, I'm fine either way.
She's actually presented to the council before, years ago. So I'm sure if she's available, she'll be happy to do it. If not, I'll get you a summary on what currently is.
Thank you. I think that'll be good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I'll be looking for a table when we get to my section. And if there's no further questions, Madam Chair, we do not have executive session tonight.
Well, that's great. Okay, very good. Let's get right into the town attorney's. Any more questions for the town manager? Hearing none, let's get right into the town attorney's report, please. Jeremy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just have one item on my report today. The council was briefed last week on a proposed legal settlement that dates back a number of years that has been handled by outside counsel through our insurance carrier. Outside counsel has recommended a settlement, which we'll be voting on later tonight. The settlement will be covered through the insurance carrier. And like I said before, you will be voting on that later tonight.
Okay, thank you so much. And that's the only thing that's before us right now from you, Jeremy, is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. Okay, let's move right into public communication. We are opening communication for anyone who is in this meeting. You'll have 5 minutes. We'll give you 5 minutes. The clerk will be keeping time. And if you are on your computer and wish to address the council, please unmute yourself, and Paul, you'll be monitoring it, please, and see if we can get everybody on who wants to speak. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak who's on the computer to the council? I don't see anybody. Paul, do you?
It looks like Jack Perry put his comment in the chat function that he would like to speak, Madam Chair.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Jack, if you'd like to. Come on down.
How you doing this evening? Thank you. I just want to thank town staff and Mark Shota for working with us. It's exciting that we are finally operating in our new building. So our 28,000 square foot building in Southington is now in operations. This last year with COVID definitely slowed us down, but town staff has worked with us and helped us with all the hurdles, because we also had to work with the state DEP as well to be able to get our new permit issued. So I can't thank them all enough for helping us and speeding up the process in any way that they possibly can. Our state is definitely going to be facing some issues with disposing and getting rid of our waste, especially with the Hartford facility closing down next year. There's 700,000 tons of waste that will no longer be going trash to energy. Connecticut or Southington is part of the BRFOC. I think there's like 14 communities involved in that, which is great. It protects, with flow control, but at the same time, with Hartford going down, there's longer lines already at that facility in Bristol, and I can only see it getting worse. So this our new facility is going to do a lot of great things for our customers, our community, and it gives us more of an option rather than being forced to sit in long lines and having to start earlier to accommodate those long waits. It also will allow us to continue investing in our community. And right now we are near about 60 employees. In the next 5 years, our company will double in size. So it's definitely very exciting. We've been working, with the town on this project. I think it's been 5-6 years now. So it's been a long process. I can't thank everybody enough. It's a whole new chapter now that we could obviously help our community and surrounding towns on recycling and diverting as much as possible from the landfills, as well as, a route to dispose of our waste. So thank you, Mark and town staff, for helping with that. And, I guess the other evening is where it really came up to me, and it's been mentioned a couple times on another note, is the referendum on May 4th. On Sunday dinner, I had a family member mention that they didn't, we were talking about it, knew nothing about it. They didn't see any advertisements. Today's 2021. I know that we are following our town's charter. I saw Kathy Larkin has done what she was supposed to do and publicized it. But there's so many different ways to be able to extend this. And I think having these presentations in front of the civic groups in town is great, but we're not getting everybody. And I just feel that there's a lot of people that don't realize that there's a special election on May 4th. They don't realize they don't go to their normal polling stations. I know you guys have been doing everything you possibly can, but I just feel like there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to come out and vote, that are for it, that are against it, people that want to learn more about it. So I don't know, whatever you guys can do between now and May 4th, I think that we try doing whatever we possibly can, to do that. Because again, like I said, Sunday dinner the other evening, I had a family member not even know about it. And then a couple others were like, oh, wait. And then they didn't know where to go vote and stuff. So I think there's going to be a lot of confusion on May 4th. So I urge all the council members to obviously do whatever you guys can, continue what you're doing. I'm just very scared to see what the turnout is on May 4th. So thank you, everyone. And that is all. Oh, and I forgot to mention Jack Perry, 153 Moore Drive, Southington, Connecticut, and business is HQ Dumpsters and Recycling and Central Connecticut Resource Recovery. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else?
Chair Sue Z is in the chat function looking to speak.
Okay, go ahead, Sue.
Hi, Sue Zabahansky, 28 Working Street, Plantsville, Connecticut. I just want to say on this budget, I really want the town council to really look at it closely. I think at a time that we're coming off of the COVID crisis, I think any form of tax increase, I know they worked hard on the budget, but I think any form of tax increase, especially with all the federal funding coming in, I understand some of it has to be used in certain ways, but it can be offset in other ways. I really want you guys to look at that closely, because I think to have a budget increase when we're getting such a huge amount of funds coming into the town from the federal level, I think would be a mistake. So that's one thing. I just on the note about the referendum, I have seen Paul Chaplinsky has put up presentations about the referendum on social media. I've seen it in the newspaper. I've seen it at town council meetings. So I don't know where else you guys could possibly advertise that, but I have seen it. And I thank Paul for the presentations he's put up on social media that a lot of people got a chance to see. So thank you guys very much. And just, you know, I'm just hoping that we think really, consider the budget heavily before we vote on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Are you seeing anybody, Paul? Anyone on the phone? Go ahead, Paul.
I'm not seeing anybody, Madam Chair.
Anyone on the phone, please dial *6 and you can speak. I don't see anybody. How about you, Paul? Anybody?
I don't see
No.
anybody, Madam Chair. No.
Okay. Very good. Okay, well then we're going to close down public communication and let's open up old business, item 8. The first is item A, action on the volunteer tax abatement. Paul, I see your
Madam
hand up.
Chair,
Go
yep.
ahead.
I'd love to make a motion to approve this, Madam Chair. I think it's a great step forward in our community. It's in alignment with the Connecticut Public Act 1936, which was passed in June of 2009, which gives the municipalities the opportunity to do this. And I think it's a great program, and I'm very proud that this council will be hopefully passing this. So I'll make the motion.
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
Oh, Chris beat you to it, Mike.
Oh, sorry, go ahead,
Chris
Chris. You got
Palmieri.
this one.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Chris Palmieri seconded that vote. So I think we can do, let's do a voice vote if that's okay. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Chaplinsky,
Yes, and thanks to all the volunteers and the full-time firefighters.
Del Santo,
Absolutely, yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Dietzick,
Yes. Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Jim? Okay.
James Morelli.
I don't think he can hear us. Okay, go on, please.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Pulis,
Yes.
Triano.
Yes, thank you, everybody. That was unanimous with one abstention. Action on the Board of Finance. Item B, could I have a motion, please? We are not, we will, it's receiving the report from the Board of Finance is what we're voting on. It's not, we have our own budget hearing and budget conversations coming up. So could I please have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Chris.
Second, Madam Chair.
Second by Val. Very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Item C, action on the Plansville Pump Station.
Madam Chair, can I do a recommended motion for this one?
Yes, please, if you
The
could.
recommended motion would be to construction to Kovics Construction Company of Oxford, Connecticut for the sum of $792,517. And also the construction inspection to Tie and Bond for $117,000. That'd be a recommendation.
I'll motion
Thank
to
you.
approve that, Madam Chair.
Paul, you're going to approve that. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mike Del Santo.
At first I thought Mark said it was COVID construction. That's a catchy name for an organization, but I'll go with it either way.
All right.
Discussion, Madam Chair?
Yes, there's discussion right now on it. So go ahead, Paul, if you have any.
Thank you. And I just wanted to just point out the earlier discussion about the funding that we're getting from the federal government on this. This is a huge thing for the town. You know, I think that it's going to help infrastructure. It's going to help offset the the tax cost to our residents in the amount of more than $4 million in the years ahead. So I think that this is a really positive thing. So I'm looking forward to supporting this.
Okay, very good. All right, let's call a voice vote on this, please. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Chaplinsky,
Absolutely.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Diedzik,
Abstain.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Pulis,
Yes.
Triano.
Yes, passes. Action on the fair housing resolution.
Motion to table.
Okay, you second that, Val?
Sure.
There's a motion to table on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
No discussion on the table.
Oh, there's no discussion on table. I'm sorry, that's right. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor to table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to table? So it passes unanimously. We will take this up at our next meeting. And item E, the settlement of the Menendez.
Motion
et
to
al.
approve, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a
I'll
second?
second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Del Santo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. I want to thank you all. Let's get into new business, tax refunds. Val?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the tax refunds that are outlined in our packet.
Second,
I'll second.
Bill.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I think it's unanimous. Is it unanimous? Yes? Okay, very good. Thank you so much. And appointments. I'm going to entertain a table on the Conservation Commission alternate.
Motion to table, Madam Chair.
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, everybody. We'll have somebody next time. Right now, we're at the end of our agenda. Amazing. It's 8:30 at night. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Second, Madam Chair.
All those in favor? Good night. Have a
Aye.
great
Good night.
night.
Get
Thank
some
you,
rest,
everybody.
everyone.
Good
everyone.
job, everybody. Take care. Good night
Good
now.
night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.